the captivating journey into the complex history of women's health, a tale that unveils the profound ways in which misogyny and patriarchal structures have shaped the very foundations of modern medicine. Welcome, my friends, to the latest episode of Guide to Reads, where we delve into the groundbreaking exploration of Unwell Women by Eleanor Cleghorn. For far too long, the medical understanding and treatment of women's health have been filtered through the lens of male-centric biases, reflecting social and cultural prejudices as much as scientific knowledge. Since the ancient era, the male anatomy has been considered the standard, with women's bodies viewed as mere deviations or inversions, a flawed and fundamentally misguided perspective that has led to centuries of inadequate study and understanding of the female form. These historical biases continue to reverberate through our modern healthcare systems, where women face systemic challenges in receiving the proper medical attention they deserve. Women are less frequently referred for diagnostic care and disproportionately affected by chronic conditions that remain woefully understudied, a testament to the enduring legacy of the medical profession's historical mistreatment of the female experience. To truly comprehend the roots of today's medical discrimination, we must delve into the centuries-long shadow cast by the medical establishment's approach to women's health. Through a series of revealing historical snapshots, this book illuminates how the misguided practices and attitudes of the past continue to influence the very healthcare disparities and challenges that women confront in the present day. My friends, this is a journey not merely of medical history, but of the profound ways in which societal biases have shaped the very foundations of our understanding of the human condition. It is a call to arms, a rallying cry for us to confront these deep-seated prejudices and forge a path towards a more equitable, compassionate, and scientifically rigorous healthcare system, one that truly values and addresses the diverse needs of all individuals, regardless of gender. So let us embark on this captivating exploration and arm ourselves with the knowledge and the determination to advocate for the health and well-being of women everywhere. For in understanding the past, we can shape a future where the medical profession serves as a beacon of empowerment, not oppression. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights that can empower you to advocate for better healthcare. 1. Wandering Wombs. The captivating tale of the wandering womb. A medical misconception that has haunted the history of women's health for centuries, a testament to the profound ways in which cultural biases and social structures have shaped our understanding of the female condition. Let us delve into this intricate tapestry, my friends, and uncover the profound insights that lie within. In the ancient world of Hippocrates, on the Greek island of Kos, the very notion of women's health was inextricably linked to the constraints of a patriarchal society. In a world where women were largely barred from seeking paid employment or owning property, where their primary purpose was to bear and raise children, it seemed only logical to the physicians of the time that the uterus would be the source of all female ailments. And thus was born the theory of the wandering womb, the belief that an unfulfilled uterus, one not engaged in its natural function of sex and pregnancy, could actually migrate through the body, disrupting other organs and causing a wide range of symptoms, from convulsions and hallucinations to pain and paralysis. The prescribed cures, unsurprisingly, were marriage, sexual intercourse, and pregnancy. This persistent misconception would continue to haunt the medical landscape well into the Middle Ages, when women's bodies were further burdened by the religious shame stemming from the biblical story of Eve's temptation and original sin. Medieval moral laws even prohibited medical professionals from examining women's bodies, deepening the mystery and misunderstanding surrounding female anatomy. Yet, amidst this sea of patriarchal oppression, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of women-led medical practice. In the 11th century town of Salerno, women began training as physicians, with Trotta emerging as a particularly influential figure. Her comprehensive work, the Trocula, while still reflecting some contemporary biases about female weakness, made the groundbreaking assertion that the womb could not actually move within the body, except to some extent in cases of prolapse. Alas, because Trotta was a woman, and women's health was not considered a serious medical concern, her ideas failed to gain the widespread acceptance they deserved. By the 14th century, women were banned from practicing medicine across Europe, The wandering womb theory's remarkable longevity extended even into the early 20th century, where it evolved into diagnoses of hysteria, demonstrating how persistent medical misconceptions about women's bodies can be. This ancient idea exemplifies how cultural biases and social structures have historically shaped and continue to influence medical understanding and approaches to the female experience. It is a cautionary tale, my friends, that reminds us of the urgent need to confront these deep-seated prejudices and forge a path towards a more equitable, compassionate, and scientifically rigorous healthcare system. 2. Women in pain. The complex history of women's pain in medicine is vividly illustrated by the 1812 account of playwright Fanny Burney's mastectomy. With only wine cordial and a handkerchief over her face, Burney endured excruciating pain until she mercifully fainted. At the time, breast cancer was thought to be caused by various factors, including women's unstable emotions. Scottish surgeon John Rodman typified contemporary medical thinking, attributing the disease to women's feeble structure and emotional disposition, particularly those of middle and upper-class women. This perception of feminine sensitivity was deeply racialized. While wealthy white women were viewed as exceptionally delicate and sensitive to pain, poor women and women of color were assumed to be more resistant to suffering, a dangerous misconception that continues to affect medical treatment disparities today. Black women, in particular, still see their pain being systematically undertreated or dismissed in medical settings. The medicalization of childbirth in the mid-19th century brought these attitudes to women's pain into sharp focus. A prevailing myth held that the agony of childbirth was divinely ordained, making mothers more devoted to their children. Scottish obstetrician James Young Simpson challenged this belief by pioneering the use of anesthesia in childbirth. After discovering chloroform's blissed-out effect, he administered it to Jane Carstairs, whose previous labor had lasted 3 grueling days. The success was so remarkable that Carstairs named her daughter Anesthesia. However, Simpson faced fierce opposition from colleagues like American obstetrician Charles Meigs, who claimed labor pain was both natural and necessary, erroneously calculating that women only experienced 25 minutes of pain per labor. The tide began to turn when Queen Victoria received chloroform during the birth of her 8th child, describing the experience as soothing, quieting, and delightful beyond measure. Yet pain relief remained a privilege of wealthy women who could afford it. Throughout medical history, women's pain has been consistently minimized, moralized, or dismissed entirely. From Burney's mastectomy to modern labor wards, the treatment of women's pain reflects deeper societal attitudes about gender, class, and race. Attitudes that continue to influence medical care today, often with devastating consequences for women's health outcomes. 3. Sexuality and judgment. The history of gynecological medicine reveals how deeply cultural fears and moral panic about women's sexuality have shaped medical practice. At the center of one 19th-century controversy was a seemingly innocuous tool, the speculum, a duckbill-shaped instrument that revolutionized cervical examination. Before its invention, doctors relied on abdominal palpation to diagnose conditions like fibroids, cysts, tumors, and cervical erosion, a far less accurate method. Despite its potential to save lives by enabling better diagnosis and treatment, the speculum faced fierce opposition. Critics worried it would destroy the hymen, considered a crucial marker of virginity, and feared it might provoke hysteria or create sex-crazed women through penetration. The fact that it helped diagnose sexually transmitted diseases only fueled the controversy. Physician Robert Brudenell Carter exemplified the period's medical anxieties, warning that the speculum could stimulate dangerous sexual desires, leading to hysteria or womb heaviness. He particularly feared it might encourage what he euphemistically called the solitary vice, masturbation. The prevailing belief held that women's sexual desires could only be safely expressed within marriage, and that clitoral stimulation could lead to nervous derangement. The medical response to female sexuality could be brutally extreme. While gynecologist Samuel Ashwell recommended rest and cold baths for slightly enlarged clitori, though we now know the clitoris, with its 8,000 nerve endings, can naturally vary in size, More serious cases were treated with clitoridectomy, one of medicine's most shocking interventions. London gynecologist Isaac Baker Brown advocated this procedure, claiming that clitoral stimulation could cause paralysis, blindness, and mania. This moral panic paralleled growing awareness of contagious diseases like cholera and typhus. Female masturbation was similarly framed as a disease threatening domestic morality. The same harsh judgment extended to women with sexually transmitted infections like syphilis or gonorrhea, who were condemned for wanton habits, while the possibility of transmission from their husbands went unconsidered. A stark example of how medical attitudes reinforced social double standards. 4. The fight for birth control. The early 20th century fight for birth control access reveals both the desperation of women seeking reproductive autonomy and the complex, sometimes troubling history of the movement. In 1914, Margaret Sanger faced indictment for distributing obscene material through her newsletter The Woman Rebel, which included rudimentary contraceptive advice like douching with vinegar or ice-cold water and taking laxatives and quinine to prevent suspected pregnancies. While Sanger temporarily fled to England, her work inspired others like Mary Ware Dennett, who had endured 3 traumatic pregnancies without receiving any contraceptive guidance from her doctor. Together with Clara Stillman, Dennett founded the National Birth Control League, driven by the belief that women could never truly enjoy their bodies until freed from forced reproduction. She authored The Sex Side of Life, a revolutionary anatomically precise sex education guide that encouraged young people to embrace sexual pleasure without shame. Though she still reflected contemporary prejudices against masturbation and sex work. Upon returning to the U.S., Sanger, whose work as a visiting nurse in New York's tenements had exposed her to the horrific consequences of botched back-alley abortions, opened America's first birth control clinic in 1916 with her sister Ethel Byrne. The clinic saw 400 women in just 10 days before authorities shut it down. During her time in England, Sanger connected with Marie Stopes, whose own sexually traumatic marriage inspired her influential book, Married Love. Stopes explained women's cyclical sexual desire, emphasized the importance of foreplay, and discussed contraception options like sheep gut or vulcanized rubber condoms. In 1921, she established Britain's first mother's clinic in London. However, this revolutionary movement had a dark underpinning. Both Stopes and Sanger viewed birth control as a means of limiting reproduction among poor, disabled, and non-white families, even supporting sterilization in some cases. This troubling truth, that the birth control movement that has liberated countless women was also entangled with the oppression of marginalized groups, highlights how even progressive movements can perpetuate harmful biases and discrimination. 5. Demystifying menstruation. Throughout history, menstrual pain has been simultaneously pathologized and dismissed, a paradox that exemplifies medicine's problematic approach to women's health. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, as gynecology became increasingly professionalized, male physicians perpetuated the idea that debilitating period pain was both inevitable and evidence of women's inherent weakness. Enter Clelia Duell-Mosher, a pioneering researcher determined to challenge these assumptions. Mosher conducted groundbreaking research to demonstrate that severe menstrual pain wasn't universal. Many women experienced minimal discomfort, and those who did suffer could find relief rather than resignation. Her rigorous methodology involved studying over 3,350 menstrual cycles across 400 women, tracking everything from cycle details and blood pressure to subjective experiences through patient diaries. This contrasted sharply with male gynecologists' tendency to inflate abnormal cases, promoting the misleading notion that all women were incapacitated 1 week of every month. Mosher developed an exercise regime known as Moshering to strengthen core muscles and alleviate cramping. Her approach was informed by her groundbreaking research on female respiration, which revealed that women's supposedly natural shallow breathing was actually caused by restrictive corsets, a simple but revolutionary observation that had escaped her male colleagues. While some physicians dismissed severe menstrual pain as feminine oversensitivity, others prescribed extreme solutions. Fibroids, which affect 70% of white women and 80% of black women between the ages of 30 and 50, were often treated with hysterectomy, a dangerous surgery with a 70% mortality rate in the 19th century. Even survivors face serious long-term consequences, including chronic pain, decreased libido, and vaginal prolapse. Yet hysterectomy remains a common treatment for fibroids today. 6. Pathologizing oppression. The medicalization of women's discontent in the 1950s reveals how pharmaceutical companies and doctors interpreted social issues through a lens of individual pathology. At the center of this story was the drug Miltown, meprobamate, the first widely distributed minor tranquilizer. Released in 1955 by Wallace Laboratories, it was marketed as a miracle cure for everything from arthritis and asthma to anxiety and multiple sclerosis. Within a year, it became America's most prescribed drug. Marketing specifically targeted housewives, promising to fortify them for daily tasks from grocery shopping to PTA meetings to marital duties. However, the anxiety these women experienced often stemmed from oppressive gender norms rather than medical conditions. Moreover, many symptoms treated with Miltown, chronic fatigue, unexplained pain, rheumatism, were actually manifestations of autoimmune diseases like lupus, ME, and MS, which predominantly affect women and remain poorly understood even today. When meprobamate reached the UK in 1956, it quickly became the most prescribed drug there as well, treating a range of feminine complaints from insomnia to weak nerves. The consequences were severe. Between 1954 and 1956, barbiturate overdose caused 271 accidental suicides among women in England and Wales. Long-term use led to blurred vision, drowsiness, nausea, and addiction. Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique later contextualized this epidemic of female anxiety as the problem that has no name, the profound dissatisfaction of women forced back into domestic roles after experiencing independence in the wartime workforce. However, as bell hooks and other feminist critics would later point out, Friedan's analysis primarily addressed the experiences of white, middle-class women, overlooking how race, class, and economic necessity shape different women's relationships to both work and domesticity. This history illustrates how medicine often serves as a tool for maintaining social order, substituting the prescription of pills for addressing society's systemic inequalities. Instead of recognizing women's discontent as a rational response to restrictive gender roles, the medical establishment pathologized their feelings and medicated their resistance, a pattern that continues to influence women's healthcare today. Unwell Women is a powerful and eye-opening exploration of how centuries of medical bias have shaped the treatment of women's health. Eleanor Cleghorn reveals the historical and cultural forces that have marginalized women in medicine, offering a call to action for better, more equitable health care. Women's health has been misunderstood, misdiagnosed, and mistreated for centuries, but by understanding this history, we can advocate for change. Whether you're a healthcare professional, patient, or advocate, this book provides valuable insights into the systemic issues affecting women's health and how we can address them. Ready to challenge medical bias and advocate for better healthcare? Start by educating yourself about the history of women's health and supporting organizations that promote gender equity in medicine. If this summary inspired you, grab a copy of Unwell Women and join the movement for a more just and inclusive healthcare system. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Guide to Reads for more transformative book insights. Remember, your health matters. Demand the care you deserve.